Hi, today in this video, I want to talk to you about looking for credible sources for your research assignment, and also a little bit about how to find peer-reviewed sources in our databases, specifically using EBSCO. And so let's take a look here. Let's go in and do some searching here. All right, so from the pod page, we're going to go into the library's pod page. So under campus services, we'll go to library. So hopefully you know how to find the library's pod page here, or you've visited the library's pod page before, but if not, this is how you do that. The reason why I recommend using the pod page versus the public website that the library has is that because of this login information that you have here. So when you're so for most of our databases require a login. And especially EBSCO in particular, which is going to be the database that you're going to use probably the most. That one, um, you'll definitely need to use this login, which is listed here. On the public website, it's a little harder to find. So the nice feature of the pod page, especially if you're as a student, is you can log in and the information is right there. All right, so the next thing we want to do is to go in here. And let's take a look at EBSCO. Okay, so if we're getting ready to find some sources here, you can find the links to our databases under the Access Our Databases section here on the library's pod page. So we'll just click the link to EBSCO. All right, so when we're talking about finding credible, reputable reputable sources for your research assignment, the advantage to using our databases, EBSCO in particular, is that you can search for different types of sources all at once. And all the types of sources that pop up in the search results here are going to be reputable sources versus Google, where it's sometimes hard to tell if it's going to be a reputable source or not, or there's questions on that. Here, if you're using EBSCO, you know everything you're getting here. These are going to be credible sources. You're going to be able to find newspaper articles, articles from news sites, magazine articles. You're going to find scholarly articles from academic journals. You're going to be able to search for ebooks. So there's lots of different things here that you can search for. Okay, so let's do our search. Let's say we're doing a search on, let's say, the death penalty. And a good rule of thumb here when we're searching is to start with a broad topic and then narrow it from there. So in the case of death penalty here, it's nice that they EBSCO gives you some suggestions here. Okay, so we're choosing death penalty or capital punishment. So that's looking for, those terms are basically synonymous. So it's going to look for either of those terms in the results. So that's going to sort of widen our search, going to get us the maximum number of articles that we can get here. And so you can see here, if you look under source type, you can see the different types of sources. Look, you've got thousands of articles here. That's why EBSCO, is really the best source, or the source you're probably going to use the most frequently here among the library resources. You can see because you've got thousands of articles here, and they're all full text. You see the full text button highlighted there. Um, and so there's lots and lots of full text, credible, reputable sources that you can use for your assignment. So here, let's say we want to focus on news. We can just click that, take a look at some of the news articles here. And then we're getting ready to access You may want to take a look at the actual full text of the article. You just click the Access Now button. That takes you to the full text of the article. This is the article that we were going to look at there. And from here, there are some different options. What I always recommend to students is that you save these articles, save these sources when you find them, because a question we get a lot of times in the library is, I found this really good source, then I clicked out of this, quit what I was did something else, came back, can't figure out how to backtrack and find that source. This is a good way to save that without having to try to remember the search terms you used. So it's just a good way to do that. So what you want to do is either download it here to your hard drive, or you can save it to a folder here. I would suggest creating a My EBSCO account here, because each time you use the database, and chances are you're going to be using this for not only the assignments you've got now, but also future assignments. So anytime you're using EBSCO, it can be any username or password that you want. You can log into that folder and access that running list of sources that you found there. Um, so what we can do here also, you can see here the citation link there. So we click on the little citation icon there. This will help us cite our sources for our paper. Of course, we're going to have to cite our sources within the body of the paper, our in-text citations, and then of course we're going to have to put together a works cited page. So this will help you in putting together your works cited page. So let's say this for an English class, you just go down to MLA or whatever your style manual is that you've been assigned, if it's APA or if it's Chicago, but we're going to choose MLA for example here. So you just choose that, and then you copy that to the clipboard, and then you can just plug that into your works cited page. Kind of does the work for you. You don't have to go out and try to find examples online. You don't have to try to go out and find the style manual. Puts it together there for you. It's something I try to mention to students, highlight that for them, because it's a really nice feature that makes it, it's very convenient, really helps when you're putting together your citations. Okay, so let's, and again, if you want to add some additional terms to your search, you can click advanced search here. So if we wanted to add in, let's say we're going to focus on Texas, so I'll put Texas in there. Then, as I mentioned, if you save your sources here, you can go into where you can click where it says My EBSCO to access that folder and those sources that we found. Now from here also, now let's take a look at, okay, so if you need to find scholarly articles only, you're going to want to go in. Let's go ahead and take news off here. You're going to want to focus on academic journals. But with that, you also want to focus on those that are peer reviewed. So a lot of times your instructor will require that you find peer reviewed articles. The peer review just means that the articles were reviewed by peers in the field before the article appeared in the journal. So that means that those articles are considered like they're held to a higher standard academically, that the research has been checked, it's been thoroughly vetted before it's been published. That's a lot of times why your instructors will assign that, because it is considered really strong academic research articles. So you'll click the peer review button here, and you can see it says in search peer reviewed there. If you see a button like this, access options, you just usually want to choose the PDF. That's usually the best option to choose there. So, this EBSCO is probably, the best database for you to use to find these sources here. Take some, once you get the hang of it, start doing some searching, I think you should be able to be good to go on finding those sources that you need. And then we do have, other databases here as well. You can see them listed here, including some subject-specific databases that are, databases that are particular to a certain subject. And they're listed here, and you can find them here under the research subject guides. So for each subject here that's offered at ACC, we have a subject guide dedicated to that subject. So here, for example, is the subject guide for English. So if we need to, if you want to see what specifically we have database-wise as far as English goes, we can click on the Databases tab. And then you can see here we've got some good literature databases that say you're taking a class that's dealing with literature. Maybe you need to find critical analysis of a book or a short story or a play or maybe a film analysis. You could come here and take a look at some of these databases that are specific to that subject, and you may find your sources a little more quickly there versus trying to go through EBSCO and wading through lots of different things that you're going to find there. You may be able to more quickly pinpoint a source that you need by going through these subject-specific databases. So let's click on, let's go to Gale Literature Research Source Center here. Let's say our assignment is to find criticism of the film Schindler's List. So that's our topic here. So we're going to put in Schindler's List. Now, in this case, we're talking about there's a book and a movie. So we want to find articles about the film. So we're going to choose Schindler's List Motion Picture. And in this case, this is through Gale. So when we talk about logins, again, this is going to be the TechShare login. So for Gale and ProQuest, those databases are going to be TechShare. And with this, the searching in this database works much the same way. The features are similar to what we saw in EBSCO. You just want to make sure you click the box next to peer reviewed. Because again, in this example, we need to find peer-reviewed sources. So we're going to click here, and you can see there's 25 different critical articles analyzing the film here. All right, so we go in. Let's say we want to take a look at this critical article here, academic article talking about this film. Okay, so here's the full text for it here. And then again, what you have some of the same type of options that you have. And you can click over here in the PDF here. And you can go through and do some of the same options that you have in EBSCO as far as you can save it. There's a way you can see up here where it says sign in with Google or sign in with Microsoft, where you can, again, access a folder, where you can add sources to it. And again, I recommend doing that, using those folder features if you do have an assignment where you've got to find multiple sources. If you only need to find one, you may not need that as much, but if you need to find 2 or 3 sources, 5 sources, it's really a good idea to utilize those folder features because you can save as many of them as you want and then just focus on the ones that you're going to need for your until you focus on the ones that you're actually going to use for your assignment. So it's a really good way to keep track, kind of build that list of sources as you find them. But it also has a citation feature as well. So you can go in here. It's got MLA, APA, Chicago. And again, you can copy and paste that into your works cited page. Okay. Um, so that's just an example of one of the databases that we have is subject-specific database. We've got them for, as I mentioned, for, even if your topic is nursing, you can go in here and find the nursing databases. There's lots of different things here. For nursing, a lot of times you may need to use now EBSCO does have CINAHL, which so it's a great database for you to use, but you might want to use some of these Gale ones. Here's one that's ProQuest database, Health Research Premium Collection. So I just want to show you that briefly. And again, this is another database with lots of full text articles. Really good for searching for journals for searching for scholarly articles from academic journals. So let's say we're looking for articles dealing with respiratory failure, let's say, respiratory failure. Now here you need to, now sometimes you have to do this in the data, so you have to click the full text box, and EBSCO does it for you, but here we'll click that. Then we'll also click peer reviewed. And then here, some of the same uh, features that we saw in EBSCO here. Let's click on where it says abstract details. So this is nice and it takes you to directly to the abstract. The abstract is just kind of a summary of the article, and if this one doesn't work for our topic, we can just go back to the results and go on to the next one here. So let's go to this one here. All right, let's say this is one we're going to use here. We just click on the full text link over here. And there's the full text link. And again, it has the same, download options. You see the folder there. It also has that same folder option and then the citation link as well. So there's lots of different options here based on, what your topic is, what class you're in, if it's English, if it's nursing, there's business, psychology, history, and so forth. We've got subject guides for each of those areas. Okay, now the last thing I want to show you here, well, actually, one of the last things I want to show you here is doing a Google search. Okay, let's say let's go in here and we're going to do a Google search for reputable sources. Let's say we're going to search for articles on the Great Depression here, or we need primary sources dealing with the Great Depression. Okay, so we do our search here. Uh, Now, a good rule to follow when you're doing a web search here is to search for um, uh, sites that are, or focus on sites in the results when you're looking for web sources that are from uh, sites that are more authoritative or um, are going to be more credible in the results. So what you want to focus on are sites, government sites, academic sites, um, those from libraries. So for example, here, here's one from the National Archives. These are primary sources for talking about the Great Depression. This is from the National Archives. This is Lone Star College here. So this is from a library or from this is from a library there, the Lone Star College Library. Um, Here, this one is Southern Connecticut State University. So this is another academic site. I mean, you can also look at nonprofit sites. Let's say we're doing a search for on election laws and say here's the USA.gov, Secretary of State, but .org, National Council of State Legislatures. That would be a good one to use in a lot of the nonprofit sites. So where you just want to stay away from a lot of the .com sites. Now they can have a lot. Now that's not to say that every .com site is bad. It just means that there sometimes can be a question about the credibility of the site versus government sites, academic sites, and nonprofit sites. The nonprofits are generally very credible. So that's kind of what you want to focus on there when you're doing your web searches and you're looking for your web sources. Now, a good review of all the information that I talked about here today. If you go under the subject guide, we have a subject guide for the research process. So this talks about the whole process here of identifying, developing your topic, identifying search terms, and then a lot of the stuff I talked about here today about finding sources. It talks about some criteria you can use when you're evaluating sources as well. And then more information about citations as well. So just keep in mind these different things that I showed you here today. And then, of course, if you have questions, let us know. We have the chat service here on the website. You can type in a question there. Anytime you have a question, somebody will respond to you from the library. Whenever we're open, you'll get a direct response. After hours, you can still submit a question, and then we'll get back to you later. And then, of course, our email address and phone number here as well, which is listed right above our hours there on the pod page. Well, that's all I've got for this video. Hopefully you found this informative in helping you with your research project and with your research assignment and finding the sources that you need. Like I said, if you have questions, just let us know. Thank you.